Hello everyone. So in the last class I started a new short story, that is Two Deer, written by Leo Tolstoy. So I already gave you introduction to Leo Tolstoy. We have already completed two paragraphs in this short story. So Leo Tolstoy, a Russian writer. Two deer, deer ear means expensive. So the story revolves around capital punishment, which means death penalty. So in capital punishment, a criminal is put to death. That will be his punishment. So in this short story, this story is about a criminal who is given with capital punishment. And here the author is questioning the modern day government, is throwing light or is mocking, ridiculing the ways how modern judiciary works. How capable are they in judging, in punishing criminals? So where is the story taking place? The story is taking place in a country called Monaco. So Monaco, a small country in Europe that lies near the borders of France and Italy, and it is on the shore of Mediterranean Sea. So then the total population of this country is only about 7,000. Though it is such a small country, it has its own king, the real minor king, kinglet. And this king, he has a palace, courtiers, bishop, law, judiciary. Also he has his own army, and that army consists of only 60 men. Such a small country it is, and with such small army with only 60 men. So people there, they pay tax. They pay tax on tobacco, wine, sprites. Also they have poll tax. Among all of this, there is one special revenue, special tax that is being paid to the king, and that special revenue comes from her gaming house. And in that gaming house, people play a game called roulette. And so though the one who plays that game, though he loses or wins, doesn't matter. The keeper of this house, the one who runs this gaming house, will always get benefit. And with that money, with that profit that he earns, he pay tax to the king. So other German countries, they have already prohibited. The game is already forbidden in other German kingdom. Why? Because the man will go play this game, he loses everything, his money, others' money, everything. And in that despair, being a lost man, now having lost everything, having lost his money, he has become poor, and to be able to live in that poverty, he will commit suicide either by drowning or by shooting himself. So that is why other German other German kings have already banned this gaming house. But there is nobody to stop this king of Monaco. He is not worried about his people, is not worried about the lives of people. All he cares about is money. And until the gaming house continues, the more profit the kingdom of Monaco will get. So from this gaming house where people play roulette game, that keeper pays profit, money to the government. That itself is the special revenue. And then, so everyone now who wants to play games, who wants to gamble, goes to Monaco, since the gaming house is banned in other countries. You cannot earn stone places by honest labor, which means you cannot become rich if you remain honest. So the best example here is the king of Monaco. He is not honest. He knows that the gaming house is a dirty business because it costs the lives of men. Though he knows it, he is still continuing to have this gaming house, to run this gaming house. Why? Because the keeper of this gaming house will pay money as, and which is the special revenue to the kingdom of Monaco. He has to leave to draw revenue from drink and from tobacco is also not a nice thing. So he lives, he reigns, he rules, rakes in the money earns. So though he knows it is a dirty business, he still continues it, because from that special revenue that is paid from the gaming house, the king lives, rules his kingdom and earns money. And he holds his court with all the ceremony of the real king. So since it is a small kingdom, it cannot draw more tax. So with the help of this gaming house, he is ruling the kingdom of Monaco as a real king. So he has coronations, even he has crowning ceremonies, leaves, people visit him, he rewards, he sentences, which means even in this small country, the king is almost like a real king, he is almost as if ruling a big country, has his own army, and with the help of this gaming house is getting more revenue. With the help of it, he is ruling like a real king. And he also has a crowning ceremony, even he has people who visit him, he rewards, he has judges, so he gives judgments, there is judiciary, there is law, there is court, there is everything that a country have. So even this country has everything that a country must have: judiciary, law, reviews, courts of justice, everything. So this is very important, because this story is about judiciary, is about judiciary system in the country of Monaco. So after many years, now it happened a few years ago that a murder was committed. The people of the kingdom are peaceable, peace loving. He is saying that, the author is giving us introduction, that the kingdom of Monaco and the people of Monaco are very peace loving. So never before has a crime like this happened. And what is the crime here? A person has killed, a murder was committed. And what has to be done now? The king has to summon his court, all the lawyers, all the judges, and they must punish this criminal. And what is the crime that is happening here? The criminal act is here is murder. So a few years ago, murder was committed. Judges assembled, tried the case in most judicial manner. So now the criminal has to be punished. They arrange for meetings, several meetings, they consider, reconsider, rediscuss, and at last they decide to punish him. They decide to punish this murderer. And what is the punishment given? If the fellow must be executed, execute him. So the punishment here is, they condemned the criminal and decided to have his head cut off. This judiciary, the judiciary of the kingdom of Monaco, all the judges together, they decide that the murderer has to put to death. The murderer's head has to be cut off. So they punish him with death penalty, criminal punishment. They decide to cut his head off. Though the judgment is given, though they punish him, there is one problem, and that problem is, there was only one edge, only one problem, that is, they had neither a guillotine for cutting heads off nor an executioner. So guillotine means it is machinery that is used to cut a man's head. So to cut this criminal's head, they need this machine called guillotine, but they don't have it. They neither have executioner. Executioner hangman, the one who hangs the criminal. They don't have either the executioner nor the guillotine. So this is the problem, and the solution here is they decide to write letters to the kingdom of France and Italy. So that is the solution. Since they don't have any other choice, they decide to write letter, and they receive a reply from French kingdom, French government. According to the French, they are ready to give the machine, the guillotine, also an expert, but the cost would be 16,000 francs. So in India we have rupee, so there they have francs. So the punishment is given. They have problem. They write letter to France government, and this French, they reply in written to the letter, and the reply is that they are ready to give that machine, also an expert, but it will cost 16,000 francs, which means the total population of Monaco is only 7,000, and 16,000 francs will cost at least 2 francs per head. So this is too much, too expensive. So too dear, too expensive. So what is too expensive in the short story? This punishment, the punishment that they are giving to this criminal itself is too expensive, and that machine here costs 16,000 francs. So the king of Monaco decides that the cost is too much. At least it will cost 2 francs per head, the total population. So he decides to write a letter to his king, to the king of Italy. The French government is republican and has no proper respect for king, but the king of Italy was a brother monarch. According to him, the king of France was republican, so is not very friendly with the king of Monaco. But the king of Italy is like a brother to the king of Monaco, so they decide to write a letter to Italy, hoping that the cost will be reduced. Then Italy agrees to give that machine also an expert, but it costs 12,000 francs, including traveling expenses. So French government offered 16,000 francs. Italy government reduced it to 12,000. It again seemed to be very expensive to the king of Monaco, and then decides to search for a man who can execute, who can hang the criminal within the kingdom. Then he goes in search of that man within the army. They ask everyone, can't you find us a soldier who would cut the man's head off? In war, they don't mind killing people. That is what they are trained for. So then, considering that both Italy and France is asking for money and that costs too much, he decides to search for a man within his army. They are trained to kill. So indirectly, the army here is put to scrutiny that they don't mind killing. So they search for a man within the army who can kill, who can hang this criminal, but every other soldier rejects it. They say, we don't know how to do it. It is not a thing we have been taught. So all the soldiers, they reject. They say they don't know how to hang. They don't know. They are not taught with this. So now, though the murderer is punished, though the murderer is given with capital punishment, they don't have a machine, that is guillotine. They also don't have a executioner, hangman, the one who can hang that murderer. They write letters to both France and Italy. France offers 16,000 francs, Italy offers 12,000 francs. It looks very costly to the king of Monaco. Then what he does, tries to search within his army, but all of his army men, they say that they are not taught with this. They don't know how to execute, how to hang a criminal. Moving on, the first punishment is criminal punishment. The Kingdom of Monaco, the king and its judiciary, they decide to take it back. They decide to not to give him criminal punishment, but they assembled a commission. Uh, at last, they decided that the best thing would be to alter death sentence to one of imprisonment for life. So now they are removing the first punishment, that was death penalty. They are altering it with lifetime imprisonment. So now the murderer will leave. He won't be put to death. He won't get killed. But that murderer has to live in jail for lifetime. And why did they take down the punishment? Why did they take down death penalty? Because it was very expensive. The machine was very expensive. So too dear, too expensive. This is what the story revolves around, and this is what the title of the short story means. Too expensive of a punishment. The punishment that is given to the murderer is very expensive. So first punishment, death penalty, criminal punishment or death sentence is now taken down. In that place, they are giving him a new punishment, and that punishment is to live in prison for life. So he will be imprisoned for life. Will they carry forward this successfully? Will they be successful in at least maintaining this punishment? The prince agreed to this. They had no suitable prison to hold this man. However, they managed to get one room in which he will be put to imprisonment for life. He has to live in that jail forever, that murderer. And they also arrange for a guard so that the criminal will not escape. The guard is taken to the job to look after that criminal, to serve him with food. This goes for an year, that the guard takes good care of that murderer. He is served with food on time. And then one day, when the kinglet, looking over the account of his income, realizes that the expenditure of this murderer is too heavy. Again, it was costing 600 francs a year. They have to pay that guard. Also, they have to pay for the food that is being served to this murderer. So after an year, when the king was going through his expenditures, he realizes that they are spending so much money on this criminal. Though they cancelled death penalty, considering it to be very costly, they gave him with imprisonment for life. And now again, this is very costly according to the king, because it was costing around 600 francs a year. So what is to be done next? Again, he summons his court. Again, he invites all of his judges to arrange another meeting and find some solution to this problem. So now, in my opinion, we must dismiss the guard. What is to be done to reduce the expenditure? They decide that the only solution is to remove this guard. The guard was put only because the murderer would not escape. But now if the guard is removed, the murderer can escape. And the king and his judiciary is ready for that also. They don't mind even if the murderer escape. Why? Because the expenditure will come down. They no more have to spend money on this murderer. They agree for this. The guard was dismissed. They waited to see what would happen. What do they want now? The king and his judges, all the judiciaries, they want this murderer to escape. So they remove that guard. The guard is dismissed. They wait if one day after the other day they wait and see what happens. They're waiting to see the murderer run away, but it never happens. The murderer sees that there is no guard. He goes and takes his food on his own, comes back, sleeps. He is not even thinking of to run away. Again, this is a problem because it will cost money. So again, the king calls for a meeting. They discuss and then they decide to go tell this to that man, to the murderer directly. They go and ask, "Why don't you run away? There is no guard to keep you. You can go where you like and the prince will not mind." They are not even realizing that he is a criminal. They are not even realizing that he has committed a murder. Even the act of criminal is very serious. All they care is for the money. Is the king is still running this gaming house? Why? Because for money. And here is not even ready to punish this murderer. Why? For money. Again, the life imprisonment, he cannot dismiss it altogether. So he decides to remove this guard so that the murderer will run away. But he doesn't run away. And then they call for another meeting and they go and talk to that murderer. He is asking directly that the king, he won't mind if you run away. Why can't you run away? And what does the murderer say? Do they really find a solution for this problem? What happens next? Will they punish the murderer or will they let him go for free? And why is this murderer is not ready to run away? We'll see in the next class and we'll finish it off. Thank you.